Joining me today is Michael Hayes, Director of NADA Academy. And with more than 40 years of experience, Michael, you help train current and future dealership leaders as part of the Academy. And that includes, as part of that, guiding them through just these fast-changing topics, I'm sure, like AI, that is coming up early and often. Michael, welcome to VADA Live.
Well, thank you very much. 40 years, I'm thinking, oh, God, that makes me feel old, but it's actually closer to 50 years now. So I guess I'm really getting old.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we can update that stat, and anything we put out there, Michael, make sure we're accurate. But that's amazing. We know that's a wealth of knowledge that is welcome to speak and just channel today for this segment. And I want to start as a real basic question, because there's so much hype going on. There's everybody kind of has information on AI, but in your role and with NADA Academy, what does AI mean to you?
Well, that's really, that's a big, broad question there, Dan. Thanks. But anyways, when you think about that, AI is I think is one of those terms that's very often overused. You know, we've had things of what people call AI now, we've had around for 5, 10, 15 years, algorithmic programs that do things for us. And now everybody's, I think a lot of it, everybody is trying to brand something that's new or a bigger, deeper algorithm as AI. And if that's AI, fine. But when I think of AI, or artificial intelligence, I'm thinking of something that's a little bit more authentic than that, I would guess to say. And I don't think we're quite there yet. However, between agentic AI, we'll talk about that a little bit later, there are amazing things that what we will call AI can do. But a lot of it are just doing things better than we've done before with a lot of great programs that we have. I guess the big thing about AI now is that leads is making people more aware of the amazing things you can do with advanced technology. And I think that really, to me, is the most important part of what AI is.
It's going to ask us maybe a follow-up question, knowing we're starting really broad. What should dealers' definition be of AI at this point?
I think dealer's definition of AI should be how can I use technology to continue to meet my vision, whatever that vision may be. I assume the vision is always about our customers, our guests, as the case may be. But I think AI would be, how can I better use technology to ensure, to augment the items, the things that my people do to get better. So for instance, AI would be the opportunities we have to take rote tasks and have technology do those, and have our people do the things that we're supposed to be really good at. You know, understanding people's personalities and being empathetic and things like that, which, to the best of my knowledge, technology isn't able to do yet. And I'm kind of happy about that, as you could imagine. So.
Is there an element of that, and knowing that sometimes there's reticence for both that empathy side of things, staffing? Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Should dealers really be reticent with AI? What's your point of view there?
No, they should be looking at all the things that it can possibly do. You know, hopefully people aren't scared of it. We should be respectful of it. I think we should be obviously understanding that used wrong, and there certainly are examples about that we've all heard about out there. I should be very respectful for it, but we don't want to be scared of it. We just want to understand that it's not a set and forget thing, and we can't do that. And again, that's a positive thing. But no, there are some fantastic opportunities out there. Hopefully we wouldn't be scared of it. I just think a lot of people, and you've talked to people, Dan, on this in your series, I'm sure, but I think the biggest and most important thing is to learn as much as you possibly can learn about it, understand what the potential risks are, and like anything else we do, what are the consequences of these risks? And we have to make decisions about when do the consequences of the good consequences outweigh the bad consequences, and does it meet the vision of who we are? And what do we want to do? And I think that's the important thing. It's like any decision that we make as a dealership, in any business for that matter, any enterprise that you have, whether it's academy or association or a dealership, is what is the vision of what we're trying to get done, and how can this augment that to be able to do a better job of delivering it on a more consistent basis. And AI certainly has demonstrated in the automobile business that there are lots of ways that we can help people do their jobs better.
And having the NADA Academy and, of course, leaders and prospective leaders just coming into a classroom, learning, I'm sure they bring plenty of questions as well. So take me into the classroom at NADA Academy right now as it relates to AI. How are you talking as teachers and faculty, and what questions are students bringing?
That's a great question. So I think, first of all, at the Academy, I think what we try to do is to create an environment where they learn from each other as much as they learn from anything we do. So I think what our instructors do a really good job is an environment for constant learning. If you always have curiosity and you're always willing to learn from each other, from other people, from other industries, not just our industry, then that's really what we focus on. So AI just becomes a part of that. Because, okay, this is one of the new buzzwords that's out there. What does that mean? And what do we highlight that? So, thinking about people's questions, the questions will be, what do we need to worry about? What are the possibilities? So the great thing about being in a room with 25 other people that are all doing the same, doing the same business, auto dealerships all over North America and in some places beyond, then you always have somebody who's trying something this way. I'm trying to do this in service. I'm trying to do this in my lead quality. So now they start discussing the way that they're using it. What are the pitfalls? What are the advantages? What are the great things? So once you have the curiosity, and would you agree when you think about when I'm talking to somebody who's doing the same experiences that I'm doing, and they're telling me how it's affecting them, that it means more than a talking head in the front of the room saying, this is what you should be doing. So I think that's what the Academy does really well, is creates a common experience with people experiencing the same things, generally having a very similar vision about what they want to get done, and understanding that there are wonderful ways that people are currently using this, demonstrating it. So I think that creates the curiosity or stimulates curiosity. And then what we focus on is building maybe some activities that encourages them to use it if they've never used it. So say we put people in groups of, say 5 groups of 5, and there's always somebody in each group that has said, well, I use it to write descriptions at my dealership. How do you do that? Well, show us. So we actually have an activity where you write a description and create a video or talk about a video, and you have to use AI to do it, as an example. So there's always somebody who has used AI, and some people that really haven't. So now they're experiencing and see how easy it is. So it's posing it, but then actually getting to use the tool as an activity, and then thinking about, okay, I can investigate this, right? And when you feel it, touch it and feel it, the curiosity becomes greater. And I think you'll get less afraid of it, to your point, some of the things that you mentioned earlier.
Within those demonstrations and experiences and what others are bringing to the table, and your own background as well, Michael, within a dealership, it benefits on the marketing side, F&I, lead handling, service scheduling. How's it really being discussed?
And, mostly I think where it's used most right now are things like writing descriptions, writing blogs, answering emails, not answering emails as much, responding to reviews, because that's all pretty algorithmic. I think people are less afraid of that because you're typing in, you're looking at it, you're typing in some cases, prompts to be able to generate this. So you have pretty much full control over. So I think that's a much more common use. Where some people are going beyond that now are things like service scheduling. And those are more agentic, I guess, would be the definition. We call that agentic, right? Where the agent can be a voice or it can be just typed, but they can actually work in kind of talking like it's a person, can actually work autonomously versus being algorithmic and driven by the user, or I wouldn't have to pay attention. And we've seen a few dealerships do this, but that's certainly the minority that are using service scheduling. So I, as a consumer, can go in and either type in or even talk on the phone. The agent can answer me back, ask the questions, and set up the scheduling for my oil and filter, my 30,000, my 60,000, my brake work, or whatever the case may be. We see that's happening a little bit more often. The other thing that's probably even more than that would be lead handling, and generally lead handling either after hours or lead handling on a person that hasn't had contact with their salesperson or potential salesperson for a week or two. So maybe after a live person has tried to, get some, given the information to somebody, but they haven't gotten the response back, then the agentic AI lead handler takes over to try and reignite the customer. And they will send things, they could answer questions, they could give new information all autonomously. That's available now. And quite frankly, pretty good, the ones that we've seen. So I think where we've seen is the algorithmic first. The agentic has been much more on lead handling and appointment scheduling, mostly for service, the ones that we have seen. And there's all kinds of other places you can go with that.
Within the teaching style too, and thinking this question may be helpful for dealers too, in that they're learning, but perhaps if there's buy-in on AI, having to educate others at the dealership. So how do you approach teaching and explaining a topic like this, knowing that it's evolving, changing by the day, quite literally?
Well, as the same thing, I think, as we talked about earlier, I think the first thing is to get them to actually experience it themselves, to try it themselves. So we encourage everybody to try it with a few activities. It's funny because I'll be logging into a marketing boot camp class tomorrow. And one of the things we have them do is give them a few assignments on the things we're talking about. At this point, mostly algorithmic, but to say encourage it, you can voice train this thing too and see what happens. But to share, because that's more marketing, to share thoughts and ideas. So actually touching, feeling, and doing it is the first thing. And then understanding it's not perfect. Okay, and explaining what a hallucination is, and understanding why that is, because of the fact that I think the key thing to remind people is that the AI chatbot technically doesn't know the meaning of the words it's spitting out. It's all based on word association. So making sure people understand this is word association. The large language model is getting all this information and then replying based on similar replies to similar ways that people are asking the question, to develop a response accordingly. But it doesn't really know or understand the true meaning of what's writing. That's why they can't be empathetic at this point. That's why they can make mistakes and go down to rabbit holes and things like that. Now they're getting very, very good because they get exposed to billions and billions. I feel like Carl Sagan here, billions and billions of different sentences, different words, different levels of information, that they're really good at seeming like it's a real person, even though they don't really know the meaning currently. Now, that's what super AGI, I guess they refer to that, where it starts to maybe understand the meaning, depending on who you talk to. Is that 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road? Who knows? But for the way we use it now, to answer your question as a long-winded answer, it's really to get people to understand it, but then also to have great respect for it. It's not a set and forget thing, at least generally speaking. You always want to look, you want to check up on it, even agentic, where it might do something. How many times is it correct? How many times is it wrong? Do we have to reset it? The better that they're trained for the input that we give them, then the better they're going to be. So it's really about experience, I think, as much as anything else, as far as the learning, the understanding, and the believing. That's, to me, it has to be really hands-on, Dan, I think, for people to believe in it. They have to experience it themselves. They have to try their own prompts themselves. They have to see what the differences are.
And knowing that show and tell is vital within the process. When layering in just how you talk about it, knowing that some of the real items that people discuss are, okay, we're achieving perhaps this efficiency with customer experience, but how do we make sure we're maintaining that, making that centric, but also the trust element to that? So a question essentially being, ensuring that this is a supplement. How do you talk about that?
Well, that's a really good thing when people say the supplement and say, okay, so how far do we take it? How far will we let the agent, as the case may be, take the conversation, and it'll be as far as the agent can take it and still meet whatever we think the vision of who we are. See, one of the things that comes up a lot is people might be, and I know in previous conversations we've alluded to it, is people might be scared it's going to take their job, because hell, there's some CEOs that say, we're going to reduce jobs. Well, the good thing is the car business is a very people-centric business. And it's what we do, and every person has to be able to be good at that. So we keep talking about how, the relationships we seem to have lost somewhat. And part of it is because we're so busy during the day, we probably don't spend enough time trying to develop that relationship. So one of the ways that we think you can use AI, and that's in a positive way for our industry, is to do more of the rote work. The tasks and stuff, so that I now am able to go ahead and get into the conversation when I need to get into. So one of the things I was talking about earlier is that like on, say, a service agent and stuff like that, one of the beauties of having an agent that is focused just on service is it's trained on just the things related to the service business and just the things related to what our customers are concerned about. So when they're asked a question totally outside of that, maybe I should get my manager for this, or if it's something they can't answer, it's portrayed that way, maybe I'd want to get my manager for this, or they get notified instantly if the conversation is starting to get off the rails somehow. Really well-trained agents understand when this is not going where I am familiar with. So understanding that, I think, is really big. And then anytime the best systems will go back to a live person immediately, a manager, someone in a BDC, someone in the service department, whatever the case may be, when it seems like it's kind of getting off the rails or going down a rabbit hole. So again, that's why you always need to be checking in on things, checking up on things. How many people started talking to the agent? How many people finished with the agent? Where did the fall off happen? To understand what can we do with better training of our agents so that we have greater success. Just like we do when someone tries to go online. If you go in and you try to go online and schedule a service now, when you serve, and how many people start it and don't finish, we're supposed to check that so we can figure out why did they get to this point? Why did they stop? Was it more too difficult? Whatever the case is. So.
I appreciate you diving into that, Michael. And with AI and the NADA Academy, how has this really changed the curriculum? And what is the latest at NADA Academy for folks who may not be familiar?
Yeah, that's a great thing. Well, thank you for that. Has it changed the curriculum? It hasn't really changed the curriculum much yet because, again, we still consider this a part of technology. I think what it is that what it's done to this point, I'm not saying it's not going to, but to this point, what it is how do we integrate it within our general curriculum? And again, I always highlight our general curriculum is having people understand what is their vision, and then what are the things that they do to ensure that they meet their vision. What processes do we have in place? What structure do we put in place? And then how do we get our people to believe that what we're doing is the right thing? So I guess like anything, when we're thinking about this, we consider this another, although very high-end, another form of technology. How do you integrate it into what you want to get accomplished at the store? So the beautiful thing about being in an academy class is the fact that you now are sharing that same experience. 85% of what we do is the same thing, whether I'm a Hyundai dealer in Richmond, Virginia, or whether I'm a Mercedes dealer in Birmingham, Alabama. 85% of what we do is the same thing. We sell cars one at a time to people. So understanding how it relates to that and sharing thoughts and ideas, I think, is really what we do at the Academy. So I guess as far as changing the curriculum, it's just being aware of all of the possibilities out there and raising those, not only with the students in the class, but raising from outside the industry. This is what's happening in the food industry. This is what's happening in the fashion industry. How can you take that? How would it relate back to what we do every day? Because it's still about the customer experience. And how does it relate to that? So from that point of view, it's like it kind of fits in with what we do to create the curiosity. How it's changed is the fact that it's actually a fun tool to have you use this to develop an activity. So it's a hands-on, I think, is probably the thing that we've done is to introduce it so that do the activity, and we're going to ensure every group has to use AI to come up with the answer here. And let's discuss the positives and negatives. What prompts did you use to get your answer? And we can all see different results that you get from it. Did you make it humorous? Did you make it serious? Did you make it local? Whatever the case may be.
For dealers who may not embrace AI, either now or in the near future, what do you think that result will be?
Soon. It's a good question. I think that, well, first of all, I think properly done, it only makes you more efficient. So if you become more efficient, theoretically, you become a better place to do business with, whether it's you respect someone's time, whether you do the same amount of work with fewer people. You don't have to add new people because it's a new technology. This actually just helps people get better. If you're, for instance, if the average salesperson in your store sells 15 cars instead of 10 vehicles, and still have high CSI scores, then we're in a capitalistic society. So the efficient are the ones that survive. The ones that adapt to the way customers want to do business and do it efficiently are the ones that survive. So I think you need to look at technology, including AI, to be able to become more and more efficient while still meeting the vision of how you want to be to your customers. What's your definition of a great customer experience, and how do you respect that? It's not the end all to be all, but it has such wonderful possibilities for us to become as absolutely as efficient as possible, and to help me as a salesperson or me as a service consultant actually do a better job and have happier customers. Allows me to spend time with them when they need me. I think that's the most important.
Michael, appreciate you sharing your expertise and insights. You were hearing from Michael Hayes, who is director of NADA Academy, provided a grounding look at AI making its way into the dealership, the training space, and of course, those leadership conversations that are part and parcel with NADA Academy. That wraps up another edition of VADA Live, Talking AI as part of our special series on the topic. And I'm Dan Carrigan. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.